Hello, everyone. I'm Jamie with Fort Worth HR. Welcome to our Career Search Series. Today, we will be talking with Callie Miller, who is VP of Client Services at High Profile Staffing, about job search during COVID from her perspective of staffing agency recruiting. Hi, Callie. How are you doing today?
I'm great, Jamie. How are you?
I'm doing wonderful.
Thank you for having me.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you for coming on. Let's go ahead and jump into these questions. So, Callie, in your opinion, how has COVID changed the landscape of recruiting?
Well, that is a loaded question in some regards because it's changed it quite a bit. Although I think that right now, recruiters, whether you're agency or in a corporation, we're really just leveraging the tools that we've utilized all along, just in a more aggressive way and a more focused way and very intentionally. Obviously, recruiting did look different before COVID, and the process was different. I think how we identify talent and search for folks, and some of the principles that we all know and for job seekers to understand is having the right keywords in your resume, and being connected, following up, being prepared for your interview. A lot of those things are still there and prevalent and necessary. However, the way that the interview process looks is very, very different. With COVID has also really changed our market drastically. There have been some jobs, as we know, we talk about positions that are essential workers and roles that, are required to be on site versus those maybe now that aren't able to or required to be on site. And so there have been some roles and positions that have somewhat been maybe not eliminated, but have been just removed kind of temporarily, which is interesting. And then we also think about how the majority of people right now are working remote, working from home, working away from their offices and away from people. And so clearly that changes the way that we recruit and interact, because now teams are having to work virtually, they're having to connect virtually, and it really just changes the whole way that we do things. I would also add on that, I think that it creates so much opportunity, this whole crisis, the quote that with crisis comes opportunity. And I think maintaining that positive outlook is so important, whether you're in a job search or whether you are currently employed and trying to navigate all of this, because it's a crazy time. But just thinking about the opportunity that this has brought to all of us to have the opportunity to work remote, and have shown companies and leaders that, hey, this can be done. And, maybe we can be more efficient, more productive, have flexible schedules, we have a little bit more balance. But I think we would all agree we're all trying to figure out what that actually means.
Absolutely. And I'm so glad you said something about networking. So how has COVID impacted networking is our next question. And what would you give a job seeker on networking?
Networking. So first question is how has COVID impacted, networking? And it's impacted it quite a bit because, as we all know, we can't meet up at the fun happy hour events that, pull organizations like Fort Worth HR or Dallas HR or other associations that kind of pertain to your professional background host all the time. That's really one of the fun things, is getting to meet up at fun restaurants or venues and have a cocktail or, beverage and some appetizers, and really get to know people on a personal, intimate level. And so clearly with COVID, that's been removed, as have a lot of other social events, as we know, because we're all trying to social distance. But many of you may know, and they've talked about this, that really we need to be spatially distancing and really be more intentional about being social and really connecting with folks. And so
yes, that is very important. I'm so glad you said that.
Yes, it's critical, because people are feeling so isolated and alone, and especially when you're in the middle of a job search. Let's face it, a job search is a full-time job. So whether you are currently employed and really looking for your next opportunity, so you're a passive job seeker, or if you're an active job seeker, you're unemployed, you're searching for that next opportunity, and you're kind of finding yourself falling into the resume black hole of the ATS systems, where you're submitting your resume to all these great opportunities that are being posted, but never hearing back from anyone. That's on its own, pre-COVID, was an issue and made people feel, this big and like they weren't valued, or their skill set wasn't important, and that no one was seeing them. But now, when you're isolated and stuck at home and, can't do your normal social activities with family and friends, it even feels that much more isolating. So I would just say that, a tip would be to really leverage and take advantage of the virtual networking opportunities. I know that when going into this, I was a bit skeptical because you kind of think, how can you recreate that connectivity and that experience online with a large group of people? Everybody's kind of dealing with that with their teams right now. How do we create this? But I think when you look at large networking events, you kind of think, how are they going to do that with 100 people? How am I going to get connected? Who am I going to meet? You will connect, you will meet. And some tips I would give on that is to join those events. A lot of them are free right now. So you don't have to pay. And it really only costs you, if you want to make your own cocktail or pour your own glass of wine, or make your own snack during that time frame, you could have a glass of water there. You don't have to have alcohol. And really, you get an opportunity to see who else on the call. You can utilize the chat window. You can get people's names off of their Zoom if they're utilizing Zoom, and all the other platforms have that too. If the individual has entered their name, you can pull that from there and find them on LinkedIn and connect during or post event and say, hey, it was so great to see you on the XYZ happy hour. Would love to connect here, or would love to schedule a time for a one-on-one coffee if you're available. And what's really amazing about that is you'd be surprised at the number of responses you'll get is probably a yes, and a great way for you to, expand the conversation, extend that conversation, and really connect with people. And who knows, it might lead to your next job opportunity.
That is actually a really great tip. Okay, so on to our third question is, what is one way that a candidate can stand out to an employer right now?
So I think that, now more than ever, it's leveraging this whole virtual world that we're living in. It's here, it's been here, but it's here and it's not going anywhere. And it's really becoming a large part of the way that we are all doing and seeing business done. It's not going to go away. I remember 10, 15 years ago, whatever it was, when LinkedIn came out, and everybody was like, oh my gosh, LinkedIn. And now look, as a recruiter, it's like, this is how you get stuff done and how you connect. It's the Rolodex, of our generation. And so I would say that, this has been there before COVID, but now more than ever, you've really got to make sure that your personal brand is exemplified on your social platforms. And so these are kind of those, tips that come out that we hear time and again, the same old rhetoric. And you think, yeah, I know, I need to update my profile. Yeah, keep it professional. But you'd be surprised at how many people, it's kind of like a thank you note. Like, yeah, I need to write a thank you note. And like, there's such a small percentage of people that actually write the thank you note.
Right.
Those are the people that stand out. So going back to your online, social, virtual presence is really making sure that you spend some time in some self-discovery and really identifying what it is that you're targeting, who you're looking to connect with, what types of jobs you're wanting. Leverage the power of LinkedIn and your social networks to help you connect with the people you need to be connecting to and with. And only you really know that. And so what I would say is that really take the time to develop your LinkedIn profile and presence. Make sure you have a professional image out there. Try to steer away from the selfies. Grab a neighbor, grab a friend. I know we're social, distancing, spatial distancing. Have them take it with their phone and then text it to you. It's okay. But you want to have a professional photo. So oftentimes you see people doing selfie things and their seatbelts on, they're driving. It's just, that's not a professional image. So that's one thing. The second would be is to update your profile. If you are currently unemployed, LinkedIn added this cool feature where you can put a frame around your picture and talk, tell people you're looking. You can also add that as part of your profile, that you're actively seeking new opportunities, that you're open to being contacted. And those are important things as well. But more so than that, it's about looking at your profile, making sure that you've built it out appropriately, that you've added key information, that you've got good keywords in there, because recruiters and hiring managers, folks are on there, they're utilizing this to source and find talent. That's how they'll find you. They're not going to find you otherwise. And then the other piece I would say is really try to be strategic about the way you approach your job search. It's one thing to go online and sign up and have job alerts and apply and submit your resume and fill out all the applications and do that day in and day out. But let's face it, I think if we could all raise hands and see each other, you would agree, like, oh, it's such a waste of time. It's such a beat down because you don't really see a whole lot of return on investment. Where you're going to
absolutely,
and where you see the most return on your investment is really taking the time to be strategic and to connect with the people that are going to help you get into your next job. Well, you might be saying, well, Callie, who are those people? Those people are people in your network. They're people that maybe you went to school with, people that you've worked with previously. Maybe it's a recruiter. Maybe it's someone in an association you're involved with. And what that looks like is not hey, Jamie, this is Callie. Do you have any jobs that you know of that you can help me find a job? It's Jamie, I'd love to get coffee with you. I'd love to chat with you about X, Y, and Z, whatever your common interest is or was previously. How have you been? How are you doing in COVID? Really connecting with others and making it more about others and focusing externally. And then it just kind of, it's that paying it forward thing, you know, focusing on others. How can I help you? What can I do to help you? Yeah, this is what's going on with me. And then that kind of opens up those conversations and makes it a little easier. And then one other thing I would add on that, Jamie, would be to say, utilizing LinkedIn for the people that are in your core network and checking to see who they're connected to. It could be that, you know, your former manager who loved you and gave you a rave review, but unfortunately you had to be furloughed or laid off. They would be happy to recommend you to, maybe it's their brother-in-law or their sister or their friend who works at XYZ company, but they're not thinking about that for you. They don't know that that position's posted. And so really doing your own due diligence and your own work to really research and connect, and then say, for example, hey, Jamie, it's Callie. You know, we met at a Fort Worth HR event, and I was looking at your LinkedIn profile and saw that you were connected to so and such and such. Would you be willing to make an introduction? And Jamie might say no, and that's okay. We accept it, we move on. But what if Jamie says yes, and what if that's our next job? So that would be my tip and key takeaway on ways that you can stand out because you're actively networking and leveraging your network. And I think that, you know, maybe an employer may not see like, oh, wow, Callie's strategically networking. No, probably not. But you're going to get kind of in front of the line, so to speak, because you'll have a direct introduction, and that's going to stand out.
Callie, that was a lot of really good advice. I'm so glad that you were able to answer those so thoroughly. And it was really great speaking with you today and gaining so much insight for our Fort Worth career series with Fort Worth HR.
Absolutely. My pleasure.
Yes, we appreciate your time and your contribution. Thank you.
Thank you, Jamie.